Hello, welcome to the Week 11 College Football Review at CFBBroadcast.com. We're coming to you from the She Shed Radio Studios in the heart of SEC country. We've had a major shakeup in the polls leading into the last couple of weeks. Last time that we talked with you, LSU had just beaten Alabama in a game for the ages, and they were talking about a rematch of Alabama and LSU. And then we get to Week 11 and how things change in just one play in Starkville, Mississippi. JB, what's your first impression?
Well, it just makes you sick to your stomach, basically.
That was a kick in the gut, wasn't it?
Not, it was a shock to the whole. That's all everybody's been talking about on national news, all college sports. First thing I heard this morning on the radio when I got up was the biggest story in college football was Tua getting hurt, and it's, it makes a difference.
It changes everything.
He's an elite player that. You can't deny his talent and what he brought to the table. But, there's been other big injuries to players before, but, this one hits a little more close to home.
And I think I think it was such a big story because he was such a good guy and such a good football player. And people that did not even like Alabama, people that had the Alabama fatigue, no one wants to see a guy get hurt, lose the season like that. Questions about the long-term health. I do think he'll be fine in the long term, but breaking just tonight as we're getting ready to shoot our show, it's announced that he will be having surgery in the morning in Houston, Texas. Early indications was that, well, you didn't know at first, and then it wasn't going to be as bad as they had thought. I was hoping that they wouldn't have to have surgery, but they're doing surgery tomorrow Monday morning in Houston, Texas, so I'm sure it's the best in the field doing it. And everybody's rooting for him. I went over to the LSU Tiger Droppings website, went to their forum, and the animosity between LSU and Alabama, especially on that website, and every comment was positive.
Oh yeah,
every one of them. And you hate to see bad things happen to good people, but that's football, And I think when it first happened, a lot of blame was why was this, why was that, and I think that was just the initial thought of it. But I think once you step back and you look at it, hey, football is a violent game.
Yep, absolutely.
And that could happen at any play.
It could have happened the first play of the game. It could have, you got two different camps, basically, and then you got some in the middle, some say he shouldn't have played at all. Yeah. Some say he should have came out, but he is the starting quarterback for the team. He wants to play. He wants to play.
He's earned that right to play.
It could happen at any time.
Exactly. I'm agreeing with you. You never see a quarterback taken out in the first half of a game, and I think the people that are I seen Jesse Palmer, and he of all people knows better than that. You sat there in one breath, and you talk about that he shouldn't have played, that the game was out of hand. But then in the next breath, they praised Jalen Hurts from leading Oklahoma back from 28 to 3 down.
Yeah.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too.
No.
Either way, they're 25 to 28 point game in the first half. You don't take your starting quarterback out of the game.
Exactly. That's a prime. Anything could happen.
Anything. Do you remember the Alabama-Auburn game a couple of years ago? Anything could happen. I remember John Parker Wilson, Saban's first year, goes out there, throws a pick six before the game at Mississippi State. It changed the whole game. They lose the game.
Yeah.
I have no problem with what Coach Saban did with that. And anybody that does, I just do not think they've played any competitive sports, and I just will not accept. I will not listen to anybody like that. Yeah, it's easy to second guess people now, but I guarantee you, had they went out there and they lost to Mississippi State, these same people
Well, that's what
would
I
have
was
been the
gonna say.
one.
I mean, if we had went out there and started Mac Jones, which he's not chopped liver, man. I mean, he's a good quarterback. But the game plan is a little different with him just because of his experience playing. But these are the same people that if we'd have went out there and beat Mississippi State 21-7, they would have been saying, "Why didn't Tua play? We have to win big if we want to
need
get in the
style
playoffs.
points."
We need to win big." That's to be the same people
Exactly.
saying the other thing. To me, it looked like that he was coming out of the game, and from the sideline, what you saw, and I don't know 100%, but it looked to me like Tua wanted to go back in the game because it looked to me like he wasn't going to play. But
Yeah.
It could have happened the first play of the game.
It-
It's just the way it is.
It could have happened getting off the bus, and maybe not that extent, but you could have rolled an ankle. Anything can happen.
And he wants to play.
and
He's
he
a
wanted to
football
play,
player. He
yeah.
wants to play football.
Exactly,
And he's the
so-
starting quarterback, so it's his prerogative, in my opinion, to play.
That's just a freak injury, and for people, especially Jesse Palmer, that knows better, they're just wanting to
Yeah, that's just a
run their
talking point.
mouth. It's a talking point, and I agree very little with Joey Galloway, but I think he hit it right on the head on the college football final last night. I think he was 100% right. You do not take your starting quarterback out in the first half in a game 35-7. You just don't do it. And, getting back to the play, it changed the whole scenery. It changed the whole season on that one play. I don't think it was a dirty play. I think it was a football play.
Oh, yeah.
And
They were making the tackle.
whereas last year I thought State played dirty, going after you seen them coming in that play yesterday was just a football play.
Yep.
There wasn't anything dirty about that play. That was a football play. But let's talk about what that play did now. And we're spending a lot of time on this because this is the story of college football in my mind up until this point.
Yeah, and and depending on what all happens the rest of these last few games and what certain people think of Alabama without Tua could affect Alabama's season.
Yep. And I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of people that are out there at practice every day, and this was before this was after he had gotten hurt before the LSU game. They're out there at practice every day, and I talk with them, and on more than one occasion, on more than one of them, they told me they had full confidence in Mac Jones.
Well,
I trust it because I know these guys. I've been with them, and I know what they see, and and I was really surprised that one of them told me that, and he told me that that he is a very good quarterback, and he's got all the confidence in the world in him. So I think people will be surprised. I don't think you can.
you can't compare him to Tua here. That's the whole thing.
That's Tua's a first pick in the draft guy.
Yeah,
You're not going to compare anybody to him.
but watching Mac Jones, you can see that he's got a strong arm, and he. I thought he looked good against Arkansas, which, of course, Arkansas is not much of, we know what Arkansas is, but I thought Sark had a good game plan for him, and I thought he executed that game plan perfectly. But he's not chopped liver. He was a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school, and he's got talent, or else he wouldn't be the backup quarterback. And
If Alabama recruits you, you're a pretty good player.
and if we I know in the past we've had a better defense, but if we could win a national championship with some of our past quarterbacks, we could do it with Mac. But things, I mean, I'm not saying we have a lot of stuff against us. We may not get to see the chance for that.
I don't think Alabama gets a chance unless Oregon loses. And now saying that, I don't think they were going to get a chance with Tua. But now I think it makes it easier for them to keep Alabama out. But I will say this. If Alabama goes and puts a number on Auburn, and we can talk about that a little bit later on because there's trouble brewing down on the plains. Big word, if we go out there and lay a number on Auburn and Oregon wins,
it's a decision.
Hey, we dominated Oregon. They lost. Everybody talks about Oregon's schedule. Oregon hadn't beaten a top 25 team all year. At no point.
No. I mean, that'll be the question if things play out the way it is. But
here's the thing I'm saying, Josh. Tell me what you think. They've kept the Pac-12 champion out last couple of years. I think it's going to be hard to do it again. And I think it's going to be really hard with the backup quarterback unless things fall. I'm not convinced that they don't lose. I could see them losing at Arizona State this week.
They could lose. But, I mean, you just don't know how those people in that room think. We think we know how they think, but they have surprised me in the past the way, coming out with their decisions. But, I think if Ohio State gets the benefit of a doubt with the third-string quarterback in, 2014 or 15, and they went on and won the national championship.
They did, but now they did boat. They won the Big Ten that year, and they did boat race Wisconsin 55-0. And
so I think it's important though that Mac Jones has two good games these next two games, and looks like a formidable quarterback, which I think he will. I mean, that's like you said. I mean, there's a reason that he's the second string quarterback, and that was because nobody's is going to be ahead of Tua to begin with, but I think that he's better than some of our past quarterbacks that were starters.
Well, I'll tell you this.
Or as good.
He's got 3 or 4 first-round draft choices that those other guys did not have. That's the best receiving group in the history of college football.
Yeah.
You 4 deep. And another thing, I think Alabama has been finding an identity in the running game in the last couple of weeks. Najee Harris, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not have much confidence in him the first 8 games of the year. And then the last 2 games of the season, I don't know what has happened, but that dude has came out and played football.
Yeah.
I mean, he played a great game in the LSU game. Best he's ever played. He scored 4 touchdowns yesterday.
In the first quarter.
Yes. And a lot of people can talk about, well, Alabama only scored 3 points after Tua went out. Well, you can't go by that because, quite frankly, when that happened, Alabama's just ready to get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And
I don't blame them.
No.
It seems like every year in this game we have multiple injuries.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the time of the year or just Mississippi State is that physical, but I don't know. It seems like every year Mississippi State takes a toll on us and them. They had a couple of
they did. Their running back Hill got hurt, but it was just a kick in the gut.
Yeah, it was. It's tough, but what we needed. I think everybody. The first reaction and the knee-jerk reaction is Nick Saban shouldn't have done that. How are we going to win without him? But we needed to be thinking more about Tua himself because that he gets that he gets better and that it doesn't affect him long term.
Oh,
because
yeah.
playing football was and is going to be his profession. Something like that could cost him a lot of money in the future.
Yeah.
So they seem to think that it's not that it's a full recovery, and I think if anybody can come through it and come out on top of it, I believe it's him. He's a outstanding young man. It's just unfortunate something like that happened, but that's football. You play
it
football,
happens.
it's gonna happen.
It happens.
Things happen, and it happened to him. And my knee-jerk reaction also when it first happened was I was really saying, how in the world could Nick Saban have him in the game? And then after I sit down and think about it a while and go over it, you can't. And even Tua, and I'm sure Tua and his family would say, don't blame the coach. I mean,
I agree.
he plays football, and he's the quarterback, and he wanted to play. And like you said, nobody ever takes their starting quarterback out in the first. Maybe if you're winning 60-0, yeah, but Mississippi State is like you said. Look at what happened to Oregon.
Baylor.
Baylor. They're winning 28-3.
They were robbed too. Got that whole thing started. But anyway, that's another story. But it changed. It changed the whole plays. The way the season will play out from here on, because Alabama, it's unlikely that they make the college football playoffs. They can say what they want to, but I think they're going to have Oregon to lose. I think they would get in over Utah, but Oregon with that Nike money, I don't think they would get in.
They get in over Oklahoma?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think, but I don't know. That's a good question. I think that one maybe 50-50. I think
I really thought they were trying to set this thing up for Alabama and Oklahoma to play in a bowl game. Not to see it.
They would do that in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, but I'm sure they were wanting the Tua versus Jalen factor, and the story leading up to it. But even without Tua, they would love to have Alabama versus Oklahoma, the Jalen Hurts' former team, and blah blah
agree.
blah. Whatever.
I don't see it happening. But there's a lot of crazy things that's got to play out. We got 3 more weeks of the season. Before that, all Alabama can do is go out and win and try to dominate. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to beat Auburn, and we can talk about that a little bit. But
yeah, there's trouble on the plains again.
It is.
The Auburn family is restless.
It is. And just moving on from Tua for the last time, hey, man, that was a gut kick.
Yeah.
Thoughts and prayers are with him. He's one of the more likable players that's ever played at Alabama. I wish him nothing but the best. So, that was a tough one. But we will see. We move on now. So, probably the game of the day around here was Georgia just basically dominating Auburn. And then at the end, they let Auburn come back and then had to hold on to keep Auburn from tying the game. But Kirby Smart, did you see his press conference?
Dropped the F-bomb, didn't he?
What's up with that, man?
I don't know what he's doing.
Can you believe that?
Actually, I can, yeah.
I think a lot of that goes back to last year.
Yeah.
What did Malzahn say when they beat Georgia last year, right? Or was it 2 years ago? When they beat them last time, they beat them, and Malzahn had some kind of – it was a year that Georgia ended up beating them in the SEC championship game. Yeah. He had some kind of little comment, and I think Kirby Smart has been waiting for his chance to get even. And I think that was a low-class trailer park move to try to get even because it's one thing to say that in your locker room to your football team, but hey, that's the second week in a row that the coaches came out, dropped the F-bomb. Orgeron did it after they beat Alabama, which that was with his team. I don't have a problem with that. They won the game. They had the right to do, I don't condone talking like that, but he was talking to his team. Whereas Kirby Smart, he put it out there in the media and everybody.
Yeah. That's Kirby, I guess. I mean, he was we all liked him when he was a coordinator here with Nick, and then he got the head coach job at Georgia, and then some things that I don't know if they've ever been verified, but some things that took place when he left here and went to Georgia recruiting wise kind of rubbed some people the wrong way.
Well, he snuck in there, and rumor is he snuck in there and took pictures on the
recruiting
board and showed all the recruits where they were.
Yeah. So, I mean,
hey,
let him be like that.
He's got to live with himself, Hey, he's trying to.
I mean, he nearly let Auburn come back and tie the game. I mean, we used to always joke around here. Toward the end of his time here, was it third and Kirby? We could never get off the field, and he's
Lord, it's like
he gets conservative. He gets conservative, and
he does do that.
I don't know. I never did feel like Auburn was gonna come back and win the game, but it got the momentum changed right there in the second half, and. I thought, well, here we go again. How things happen down there at Auburn. Anything in the world could go for them down there. And it seems like it does. But
I know it.
But Georgia looked good. As we said, Auburn's defense is the best.
It is.
I'd say the best in college football, and their offense may be one of the worst in college football.
It's awful. That quarterback, he is. If I'm grading freshman quarterbacks, I don't have him above Plumlee at Ole Miss. Plumlee might not can throw, but neither can Nix.
No, they.
And Plumlee's going to run for 200 a game in some games. He had 4 touchdowns against LSU. Which their defense is not what it's been being either.
No, I mean.
And.
I mean, it's weird to say that Auburn, for the last 2 years, basically has had the best defense in the conference for sure, and maybe in college football. But and what Gus is supposedly known for, he's the offensive guru. Their offense is horrible.
Oh, it's so predictable.
Well, it's high school offense to begin with, and if he don't have the right quarterbacks run that, it ain't going. It doesn't work. And I mean. The kid that left out of there, Gatewood, supposedly, we never did really get to see him much. But if you listen to the Auburn faithful and the people in the know, this kid was the dual threat quarterback that could make the offense run. But somehow somebody with the last name gets the starting job at quarterback.
Well, I think a lot of that goes on. I think Malzahn puts a lot of emphasis on these 7-on-7 camps,
but he don't develop a quarterback.
Never has. Tell me a quarterback he's gotten that he's developed. He's had Cam Newton, but he came to him on a silver platter, and it took them about 3 or 4 games, first month of the season, to figure out what they had with him.
He had Nick Marshall, that was a defensive back that had played quarterback before.
Gimmicks
that could run that kind of offense. I mean, he's a you got to give it to him though. He's a millionaire. He's made people think that he's an offensive guru, and it ain't nothing but smoke and mirrors.
That's it.
And if you don't have and a lot of this, when they started enforcing the rule about the linemen being downfield. it's kind of affected them because they used to make a living off of that those plays where the linemen would get off downfield and the referees wouldn't enforce it very much. And if you linebackers and safeties, they don't know if you see a lineman 7 yards downfield, what do you do?
Yeah.
You think it's a run for sure.
Oh yeah.
But since they've started enforcing these linemen downfield more than they have, it's affected Auburn's ability to I won't say cheat, but fudge the rules.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right quarterback, that offense looks like something you see on Friday night.
He has to have a quarterback that you have to be afraid of running. And teams are inviting Nix to run the ball. They want him to run. So
they better be careful with him running now because
they got nobody.
I guess their backup quarterback, I don't even know who he is.
He's about as old as I am. Yeah, he's 25, 26 years old. And the natives are growing a little bit restless. When you see Brandon Mosella tweeting stuff about Malzahn's offense, you can bet that's been approved by the higher ups there at Auburn. And when you start seeing that, look out. They'll fire Jed up in a second. But I don't know who they would go after right now. I'm sure they want to go after Stoops and all that stuff. And
that had to be approved by the barbecue boys.
Yeah.
The good old boys have to approve all that, and you know how that goes.
Oh, yeah. So
you know who's calling the shots down there.
Oh, yeah. Well, it has for decades. So we will see. We will see. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think Alabama beats them. I think then the question is, does anything happen to where Alabama can get in the playoffs? And if it does, it does. If it don't, well, it just didn't happen this year. We've been there every year except for this year if that happens.
Yeah.
And we will see. I think Alabama lost to the best team in the country. I think Joe Burrows is the best quarterback in the country this year. And he is outstanding.
If he don't win the Heisman, it's a joke.
They need to shut it down because, man, he is so good. I've never seen a quarterback improve as much from one year to the other. I thought he was an okay quarterback at LSU, but I never saw.
He didn't really get to showcase his talents last year.
Maybe not, but I did not see this coming. I mean, he is phenomenal. Threw for 500 yards last night, right at it. And
as you know, and a lot of people, well, we don't really. I watched that game pretty close, and I paid attention. He has a lot of time. I mean, his offensive line has protected him all year long as far as throwing the ball. So that makes a difference whenever you're, as good as he is, and can sit there and go through all of his reads. To me, he should win the Heisman Trophy.
They say that he sees the whole field, and I think he knows. His daddy he grew up a son of a coach, and he knows by walking out there who is the 101 guy. He's completing 80% of his passes, which is unheard of. Statistically, he is having the best quarterback season ever.
Yeah.
In the history of college football.
Well, all you have to do is watch the game, and you can see why.
The game he played against Alabama, for me, was the greatest individual. It was better than the Manziel effort when Manziel came in here and kind of snuck up on Alabama. He took it to Alabama all game. I think that won him the Heisman that night. I think the Ole Miss game solidifying it, throwing for 500 yards. He did have 2 picks. But I think that gives him about 38 touchdowns to 5 interceptions on the year. Unbelievable year. He is
And he's over 4,000 something
Oh
yards
man,
passing.
he is.
I mean, that's kind of crazy in the SEC.
He's having a great
But like
great
I said,
year.
I think the SEC's turning into Big 12 offenses, and it looks like defenses are. I mean, it looks like we're turning into Big 12, the SEC. You got a couple of teams that Georgia still looks like the old style football, but I mean, who was left? Georgia and LSU until this year. And now LSU's has got themselves a passing coordinator. That's what they call him, the passing coordinator. But
they better enjoy him
because
because
he made.
He'll be gone after this year if they don't give him another pay raise. Just looking at, I know we've kind of went long on the two issues, or the Tua issue, but the games this week, just the games that really mattered as far as the playoff race. Clemson, Ohio State, they basically played no one. We talked about Georgia wrapping up the East. Minnesota went down in a hard-fought game against Iowa. P.J. Fleck continues to impress me with Minnesota. I don't think they're going to win the Big Ten this year, but they look good. He's got them playing good. Penn State, big win over Indiana. Indiana's a good football team. They won that game by 7. They did. They did.
They didn't have to come back, or not come back, but didn't they have to? Wasn't it tied like right there late in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it was tied or one possession. Well, they ended up winning by a one possession game. They were a 14-point favorite. They had to squeak out a 7-point win. Michigan dominated Michigan State. Harbaugh's got them playing good. It's going to be interesting to see what happens when they play Ohio State. Going to be real interesting. If Harbaugh can't beat them, does that seat get hot? I don't know. We'll see. Here's a game that I love. Iowa State, last-second field goals, beat Texas. And I think the last year, New Year's Day in the Sugar Bowl, when the quarterback stood up there and pronounced,
"They're back.
We're back." I don't think it. I think that's not playing. That's not wearing too well right now. It's just embarrassing, the Big Ten, Ohio State and Rutgers. And I know the SEC will take a lot of hits this week because this is the garbage week games.
Yep.
But still, some of the garbage teams that we're playing in the SEC this week are better than Rutgers. So, we'll just see. We talked about Oklahoma coming back from a 28-3 deficit, and they won that game. And Oregon and Utah are looking like they're going to be setting up for a big Pac-12 lost championship game for both sides. So the winner of that game is going to really be barking loud to get in that playoff. So that's why we need some chaos to happen out there in the Pac-12. I think it would be a travesty, but I think politically they would do it just to keep them happy. What do you think? You think Alabama gets in blowing out Auburn?
Man, I don't know. Be honest with you, like you said, it depends on. Like if Utah just say beats Oregon pretty good, say 14, 21 points, I think Utah's in.
I think you're probably right.
I just, I don't know about Oregon. If we beat Auburn pretty good, and then Oregon wins, common opponent, Alabama beat Auburn, Oregon lost to Auburn. You got the argument there. But I don't know I don't know what Utah's strength. I don't know what their schedule is.
It's awful. They've not played a ranked team all year.
Okay. Well, Alabama, I guess their signature win is what? Texas A&M, who's 7.
Well, they're
what are they,
ranked.
7-3? I mean,
They're ranked.
yeah,
And Auburn would be ranked
yeah.
if they beat
that's right,
them.
yeah.
And they played LSU to,
Yeah.
5-point game.
I mean, I could see. I don't know. It'd be tough. I mean, there's going to be a big. If all that happens like that, it's going to be a big, suspenseful.
Yeah.
It's going to be whoever wins the Big 12 is going to want to have an argument.
I think they get it too, unless some stuff happens. But hey, it seems to happen every year. There's always Oregon State. There's always a,
Oklahoma State.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always a team that slips up and beats a team in rivalry week. And Oregon State could beat Oregon. I think that game is at Oregon, but still it's a rivalry game, and we will see from there. But that's kind of where we are. We'd said earlier this was a Week 11 review, Josh. It is
10.
the Week 12.
12, no.
12, yeah, it is. Week 12 college football review. So
Okay.
So we had 2 byes this week. So Week 12 college football review. And then now that we go to Week 13, garbage week in the SEC, we won't know the polls for the college football committee until Tuesday night, but I would dare say it's not going to change in the top 5 or 6. It will be LSU 1, Ohio State 2, Clemson 3, Georgia 4, Alabama 5, Oregon 6. Just as it was.
Be no change there.
Be no change there. If there's a change, I would be really shocked. They're not going to run Alabama down this first week. Now, having said that, I don't think that Georgia lose, Alabama goes up to 4. I think they would find a way to justify putting Oregon in ahead of Alabama. But we will see. I'm not so sure that Oregon doesn't lose this week. Remember this, 16-point underdog. I'm telling you, Arizona State has a chance to beat Oregon this weekend. But we will see. We will see. So if I go and I look at the games this week, we've got a good game, Penn State at Ohio State.
Wow, that'd be a good one, wouldn't it?
It was. I was expecting a good one, but the line came out. You know what the line is?
I haven't looked, but I'd probably say Ohio State's favored by 6, maybe.
Get this. Ohio State's favored 18.5. That was shocking to me. I was thinking 9. I do like Penn State in that game simply because Ohio State has covered every week, and sooner or later that catches up to you. But I will say this. I thought that year the Auburn won the national championship they was going to get caught up with, but it never did. So it may not be. But Ohio State looks good to me. LSU and Ohio State look like the 2 best teams in the country. And we will see. The SEC, basically, there's no good games. You do have Texas A&M at Georgia, which could be Georgia's a 13.5-point favorite. That could be a tricky game for Georgia.
Yeah,
Texas that could be a tricky game.
Well, they beat South Carolina by 24 points, I think, this weekend. So, and that gets me thinking, how in the world did South Carolina beat Georgia?
Yeah, you've got some good games in other conferences too, like Michigan at Indiana. Michigan is a 7.5-point favorite.
Indiana could win that.
Indiana could win that game. Indiana's a good football team. You have Texas going to Baylor. Baylor at home is only a 4-point favorite to Texas right now. kind of surprising. Here's
that's-
another game that's been dropping. Oregon on the road at Arizona State. Arizona State is a 14.5-point favorite.
Arizona State's a favorite.
I'm sorry. Arizona State is getting 14.5 points.
Oh, okay.
All right. But listen here, Josh. This week, everybody talked about, oh, you need to root for Auburn to beat Georgia. I never was in that camp. I didn't think that mattered either way. I think that the way it's set up right now, LSU had better beat Georgia, or they could easily get left out because undefeated Ohio State and undefeated Clemson's not getting left out. Georgia beats LSU, they not getting left out. Then you would have LSU going against the other one-loss conference teams, and I'm saying that's not a slam dunk that LSU would win that battle. But for all the reasons we talked about, the Pac-12's been neglected several years. The Big 12's been neglected several years. You got to remember the AD, the committee leader on that playoff committee. He's an athletic director where?
Oklahoma.
Oregon.
That wouldn't play into it though.
Do you think that?
Totally. You check your bag at the door.
Yeah.
When you go in that room,
Yeah.
there's no bias. There's no team affiliation.
And you believe that? These cats.
Why would they put them on there then?
Well, these cats are going out to eat every night after the playoff committee, and hey, man, my Ducks, they doing good, ain't they? They're not gonna vote that dude's team out.
I mean, I don't. If LSU's number one and Georgia beats LSU, say on a last-second field goal, it goes to overtime, LSU's still getting in. It'll be Georgia and LSU and Clemson and Ohio State. Period. If it's close. Now, if Georgia goes out there and beats them by 21, 28 points, then you got an argument.
Well, I say you're in that argument, so I think LSU had better just take care of it. No doubt LSU's the better team.
Oh, yeah.
They better take care of business.
But Georgia's defense
is
good.
Is good, very good. They're probably the second best defense in the conference. They really played good yesterday. But having said that, watch Arizona State this week. I'm saying that game right there could be an upset. What you think?
Could be. We always have one toward the end of the year. Like you said, what was it? Always somebody beats somebody. Iowa State. Remember when Iowa State beat
Oklahoma State propelled Alabama in there,
and
basically
Iowa
created the playoff by putting Alabama and LSU in there.
And then Iowa that year beat Ohio State by like 32 points.
Yeah, we always have one weekend a year where just
something
crazy games happen. Not just one, like 3 or 4 games that shake up the college football landscape. We've not really had one of those in a year or two. Could this be the weekend? Could this be the weekend where we have the upset? So we have Oregon loses to Arizona State.
Could happen. We'll see.
That Penn State beats Ohio State. Ohio State's not been tested this year in a close game.
That'll be a good game, I believe. I can't believe they're favored by 18 points or whatever it was.
Could Michigan lose to Indiana the week before they play Ohio State?
Could be looking ahead.
Could Texas A&M beat Georgia? This is the weekend that a lot of upsets could happen. A lot of upsets. TCU 12 and 17-point underdog to Oklahoma. Hey, but we've seen Oklahoma drop eggs before.
Yeah, I mean TCU. They've won a couple of games. Well, they're 5-5, but didn't they beat somebody a couple of weeks ago that I can't remember?
Yeah, they beat they carried Baylor to triple overtime, and I thought that pass interference call on Baylor in the second quarter that enabled Oklahoma to continue the drive was the game changing. I think that was a BS call, and I think that was just unbelievable. Unbelievable that call was made there. You've also got Utah at Arizona. I know Arizona is not much to look at, but that still is a road game for Utah. So you've got several teams, several ranked teams that are underdogs on the road, and are not underdog. They're favored on the road, the home dogs. So we will see what happens with that. So other than there's not a whole lot of great games. This is the week before rivalry week. Next week is going to be setting up for a lot of big rivalry games.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. The AP and the coaches poll really didn't change a whole lot. Alabama's still 5 in both of them. You think that's where they need to be?
Yeah, probably so. I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, they could have been 4th over Georgia. I mean, Georgia did lose to South Carolina, which is
that loss
right
is
now.
looking worse and worse every week, isn't it?
I mean, they can't do anything now. I mean, Texas A&M demolished them. I mean, they're what, like 4-7. So
yeah.
I mean, what's the justification of these people? I don't know. You know, I mean, Alabama's lost to the number 1 team in the country by 5 points. Georgia loses to South Carolina,
and it was at home.
Yeah, and South Carolina is
trash,
terrible. So,
you know, we look at it. We may be Florida's bowl eligible, Georgia. I don't know if Kentucky is right now or not. They have one.
I think they're 5. They're
5-5. 3.
They need one more win.
Did they beat State? They need one more win.
Yeah, they're 5-5.
They will get that this week. If not, they'll be bowl eligible. Those 3.
Tennessee's probably Missouri.
Missouri, are they both? Well, they're on probation. They can't go.
They're 5-5.
Well, they can't go anyway. South Carolina.
No, 4-7.
They're out. Tennessee needs a win. They've got Vanderbilt. They will probably get it. Vanderbilt will not. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams from the East going bowling. The West has 1, 2, 3. State still has to do some work. I think they've got to beat Abilene and Ole Miss, and I'll be honest, I don't see them beating Ole Miss. They're awful. Both of them are, but Ole Miss is a hungry team. And Texas A&M. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4.
4, because
you may only have 8 SEC teams bowl eligible this year. And Tennessee, one of them, after that disastrous start.
They on a winning streak. They won, 3 in a row, I think.
Pruitt's done a pretty good job with them.
Yep.
Second half of the year.
Now watch them go lay an egg and lose to Vanderbilt.
So wrapping up here, I think we're the SEC champion is going LSU or Georgia, 100%. Agree?
Oh, yeah.
Big Ten, I don't see anybody beating Ohio State. That something could happen. Michigan may have really gotten better. I think they'll get Michigan's A game, but until I see otherwise, Michigan ain't beating Ohio State. What about you?
Nope.
So, Ohio State is in. Clemson is in.
Yeah.
The SEC champion is in. That leaves one spot left.
Pac-12 champion, Big 12 champion.
11-1 Alabama. A 12-1 LSU. If LSU was to lose to, if that happened, I think it would come down between Oregon and LSU. Alabama would be out. I think
if LSU barely loses to Georgia, they're in. It's going to be Georgia and LSU both will be in.
Well, and maybe I think it's a moot point because I think LSU's the best team.
Yeah.
Them and LSU.
Ohio State.
Ohio State. I think they are the best two teams in the country by far. And, you know, I would hate for Alabama to get in there and get dump truck because then you get dump trucked. It hadn't hurt Ohio State because they've been dump trucked. They ain't scored last two games. Or Notre Dame, but you're looking at big markets there. So all you can do is take care of what you can take care of. And I think that's the lesson.
Yep, that's it.
A lot of Bryant teams were good enough to win national championships and didn't. This team they had a bad game against LSU. Now they've lost their star quarterback. It makes it glim. I seen yesterday that odds for Alabama to win the national championship was 6-1. They have now gone to 30-1.
Yeah.
But this is when Alabama rallies. This is when Alabama pulls the troops together.
We'll see.
And
they can either rally or it'll do one or two things.
Yeah.
They'll either tank or it'll bring them closer together. So we'll see.
We'll see. I will say that yesterday I thought was the best defensive game that they've played all year, but I think that got overlooked by just the gut kick, man. With two of them. I'm sick of that. Not so much that he can't play. That has nothing to do with it. I hope that he's able to still get to be that first-round draft choice.
Yeah,
that's what I'm rooting for. You know,
absolutely.
We talked about this before. Scholarships, would you play in the bowl game and this, that, and the other?
I don't know. I probably would. I would have to stick my foot in my mouth because Alabama really hadn't been in that situation in a while, and I've, voiced my opinion the other way of these players that not playing in bowls, but
I
might have to put my foot in my mouth and say, I may have been wrong. Like you said, these kids make so much money. You're putting your whole future and at stake. So, they make so much. The money now is.
It's life changing.
It is. You go overnight.
It's a lottery. It's a lottery.
Yeah.
You fit the genetic lottery, you get a chance to go and never have to worry about working a 9-to-5 job if you manage your money right. And I have no doubt that he would do that. And, we'll see. We'll see what happens from here. It's been a fun college football season.
So far.
It was a disappointing day Saturday. It was just ripped my heart out that he got hurt. I feel I would have rather lost than that happened.
Yeah.
So,
maybe he'll be.
I wish him the best. Thoughts and prayers to him.
The best doctors in the world are working on him, and they seem to have unless they're just, saying that, they seem to be confident that he can make a full recovery. So
Yeah.
if those doctors say that, then you have to believe them. Those are the best and the best of the best.
And anybody blaming the coaching staff for playing him has no idea what you're talking about. And don't come with me with that aspect, because I guarantee you they asked him and he wanted to go play. If he wants to go play, he's the number one quarterback. He's earned that right. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and that's a life lesson, and I can just hope that everything works out for him. And
he'll go on to make his money and be a model citizen for the NFL,
be a great ambassador in whatever it is that he does.
Unlike another situation going on in the NFL. Well, not the NFL, but
that clown show.
Yeah, so we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, this is the dull week. I wish the SEC would do away with playing these games. I wish we would go to 9 games, 10 games, whatever. I think that would be good for the fans. I think eventually the market will demand that as the stands are becoming less and less full. Nobody wants to go see these games. And
that's another chance for somebody to get hurt.
Yeah. Why do that? I think these should be the games that they do. Wrap up and do these type of games in the spring for the spring training. So, but we will see. But that is the Week 12 college football review, Josh. Week 12 college football review.
Yep. It's going by fast.
Going by fast. Next week we will start reviewing the college football polls. Will come out Tuesday. We will see where Alabama is. I think you can attest that I've been right on the college football top 4 and the top 6 last week.
So, yeah.
So
we don't think it shouldn't be a change in the top 5.
Shouldn't be a top. I don't think either. I think we'll stay where we were last week. And with that, what do you say signing off, JB?
I say I'm ready for this season to get to the end and see what happens. I'm, like you said, this coming up week, I'm not excited about any games. I mean, what do you say? Georgia, Texas A&M is basically the only SEC game worth watching. The rest of them are junk games.
Well, you got Tennessee. It'd be funny if they could beat Missouri and then beat Vanderbilt, go 7-5, and end up playing in the New Year's Day Bowl like the Gator Bowl or something.
Yeah.
But
I'm ready to get to the end of this year. Alabama,
it's going to be interesting to see.
That's my team. So, we've had so many injuries this year, even before the season started, and now the biggest injury since I guess you could say Tyrone Prothro injury. I mean,
yeah,
it puts a damper on the season. It puts a damper on my attitude, but I want him to be well, so I want him to be able to go on in his next career in the NFL. That's what we want. That's what we need.
Here's what I will say, though, on that, JB. That will not define him.
No, he's
a good kid. He's spiritually strong. He's got a background. That will not define him. That I can guarantee you. He doesn't find his success in the gridiron.
No.
His success is defined in other areas that are more important. He's a football player that is able to live his testimony out to others, and that's how he will define it. And that is how we all should do.
Yeah.
So having said that, this is the Week 12 College Football Review from She Shed Radio Studios. Special thanks to our producers, Kimberly Madison and Perry Madison, for producing our shows. Check us out on CFBBroadcast.com. Go to SheShedRadio.com, and you can link to and catch our podcast. This is a new format that we're trying to find out which way we want to go forward. And we really thank you guys much for listening. And just hold tight. The season's coming down to a lot of big rivalry games. And those are always the ones that you remember. You remember what happens in November, is what Jalen said last night. That was a big win for him in the college football thing. Tough day for the Alabama nation. We wish you nothing but the best for Tua and his family. And with that, we are signing out for Week 12. We will see you guys next week here at CFBBroadcast.com at She Shed Radio in the middle of the SEC country. Thank you guys much for listening. See you next week. Goodbye.